My name's Gurveer, Brah. I'm here with Screen Off Script. Chris, first off, congratulations, man. Like, genuinely, I just want to say, it's so cool to see this film from the perspective of somebody who, I love horror movies, and I can see this is made by somebody who loves horror so much.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, so incredibly valuable.
Thank you.
The first question I kind of had is, as a kid, I kind of grew up being, kind of reluctant with horror. Right, like I had this period where I was just like, they're not even making great horror movies anymore. I'm kind of over this. And then a movie hooked me back, and it got me back to that place where I love horror movies again. And I'm curious for you, what was the movie that kind of got you into horror? Was there anything that made it kind of click for you specifically?
Yeah, in third grade, my mom got me a Goosebumps book, and so it started as books. And I read that, and I thought I was getting away with something. I was like, I shouldn't be allowed to read this. This is cool. This is scary. Mm-hmm. And I loved those books so much. I started writing my own short stories with a pen, and I still have some of them, and they're really funny. They're always a monster in the basement or something. A monster is in the toilet. Just little kid stories. Yeah. And then I remember when I was 5, my mom showed me Psycho on TV. It was edited for content, on TV, and so I think because it was black and white, she was like, "It's okay, he can watch that." And I remember my older sister ran out of the room. She was so scared, and I was just mesmerized by it. I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. The X-Files TV show as a kid too was a big thing, not just because of how much I loved it, but because on Sunday nights it started at 9 p.m. which meant that on Sunday nights, I was allowed to stay up an extra hour before bed. Yeah, that's kind of the early horror roots for me.
What do you think was the thing that kind of hooked you about, say, Psycho? Do you think it was, the actual atmosphere that it kind of created, or what specifically kind of drew you?
I have a very visceral memory of something that happens at the end of the film, and I guess spoilers if people haven't seen Psycho, but there's a skeleton that kind of is seen at the end of the film, mm-hmm. and it kind of, this realization dawns on you about what was happening in the story, and I remember that searing into my brain as this really, not just a creepy, scary image, but that there was this whole psychological thing happening behind the surface with Norman Bates and his mom, and that really made me think that there was all these opportunities to go into darker themes in horror.
I love that. I feel like that's kind of one of those things that would definitely draw you in. There's always an older one that kind of does that for you too. I feel that way. And then there's something modern that kind of hooked me back. For me, it was the Conjuring series, Insidious. That time really brought me back into it. I feel like something like this might be that for somebody else.
That'd be great.
I think that's really beautiful. Another one that really did that for me was, especially during the pandemic time, was Haunting of the Hill House.
Yes.
Speaking of Mike Flanagan, he's the executive producer of this film. And I was just curious, can you kind of talk about how valuable the contribution of what Mike Flanagan has done in the past couple of years for horror, and
oh my God,
what he's been like for you in your life?
He's a modern master. I feel so much hope for horror when I watch his TV shows and movies, especially Midnight Mass. Midnight Mass is my favorite thing he's ever done, because there's such this deep religious trauma involved in that show, but it also is exploring how a religion can kind of make you think that something that's supposed to be beautiful, like an angel, could maybe be dark and terrifying. Mm-hmm. And I just absolutely adore the way he directs, the way he writes. He takes time with his characters. It's not jump scare, jump scare, jump scare. It's you have real emotional stakes to everything, as well as the horror. And the horror just feels like the icing on the cake. And yeah, I mean, as far as this film, he would sit with me and watch cuts of the movie and offer suggestions and advice. And he was just kind of my compass, really.
I feel like he's been a guiding light, it feels like, for horror in general. Especially in the space, you see him kind of venturing off to DC too. The cool thing is we have a lot of creative people who follow us, and I feel like there's all different kinds of forms, whether it's filmmakers, pro wrestlers, musicians, to content creators. Do you have any advice for people who are making that change from one creative effort to another, kind of what you're doing for the past couple of years?
Yeah. First off, know that you're going to go through some struggle of people who have a perception of who you are, and they would like you to stay that way because that's how they see you. Mm-hmm. And that'll be tough, It'll be tough to have to say, I know that this is how you see me, but that's not all I am. and just be prepared for that, and then ignore it and do what you want to do. Because the one thing I can tell you over the course of my whole life is I've always been in different situations, whether it's being raised a Jehovah's Witness or in middle school, where I've had people trying to keep me in a box. Don't do this, do this. You know, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, it would be very much about, don't watch these movies, they're inappropriate, you know, they're not good, don't write stories, you need to give glory to God, not to these things. And I would, now that I've spent most of my life ignoring those things, it's worked out for me. So what I'm saying is you're going to get a lot of opposition from all different types of places. And it's probably best to just ignore it and push forward. Because if you know in your gut that you're doing what you're meant to be doing, or that you are happy doing something, then you're doing the right thing.
I mean, I kind of want to go into that, because you just said that you know in your gut.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also something that's kind of seems like it's distant from something religious.
Yeah.
So what's that thing that you think that you're kind of tapping into that's making you kind of move forward?
Passion for it. You know, there's this sense of drive of needing to tell stories, but also needing to like be creative and express some of those demons that I think we all repress, whether it's from childhood trauma or something else, to get it out in some way. And my way of doing that is telling stories. And I hope that I can continue to do that, because I got a lot of demons to get rid of.
The last thing I kind of wanted to ask is, like, previously you had mentioned some prequel talk. I know this is probably like something you hate hearing, but like it's like the what's next question, right?
Sure.
But more so like, do you see yourself kind of staying in this world, or do you see yourself kind of even staying in just horror? Like, do you see yourself venturing away from something like that as well at some point?
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm genre agnostic. I do like everything. I have a lot of scripts that are in like the horror space, but I've got some action stuff that I'm really passionate about. I would love to make an action movie. I have some very like more straightforward thrillers that are like nonstop, sort of like those old 90s, not old, but like 90s, early 2000s, like Speed, you know, those movies you don't see as much anymore that are really hard to get made. But I do have like a drama that I'd love to make that's about my past as a Jehovah's Witness. That it's a tough sell because it's like it doesn't have like a hook, you know, it doesn't have like a monster in it or a superhero or something. But that's a real goal of mine, is to make that film down the line.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. I feel like you have a lot of creative energy that you're waiting to get out, and especially after seeing Shelby Oaks last night, like I think very excited to see where your career goes, and especially just seeing like tailoring it after Mike Flanagan. We saw where he kind of went step by step, like getting the reps in. Can't wait to see where you're at in like
Thank
5
you,
years
man.
on it.
That means
Appreciate
a lot.
your time.
Thank you so much. That was a great interview.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it, man. Thank you, guys.